live. I never quite know when it's up, 'cause it always comes up before it tells me it does.
Right, because there's probably a little bit of a delay, I would assume. So I'll just like smile and nod for a long time because that'll just be weird because people will tune in and it'll just be like 5 minutes of me smiling and nodding.
Just smiling and nodding, like the delay before where are we? Here we are, like the delay before a newscaster speaks.
Yep. Yeah.
It's Joe.
I'll just pretend like I have an earpiece and be like, what?
All right. So I think we're live, and I'm just gonna let you take it away if that's all right.
Oh, great. Okay. Hi everyone, or anyone, if anybody.
Angela.
Angela. Hi, Angela.
Of course, she's on it. She's like, I missed the last one.
One person, great. Hi. I think, well, why don't we wait like a few minutes, see if like more people, you can let me know when some more people sign on, because it would be silly to sort of start right away and then, you know.
Do you want to just tell us what you're doing? What are we doing here, Joe?
So what we are going to do is we're doing something called creating a character. So this was a presentation that I came up with many years ago to do something fun and exciting instead of like, here, watch me do makeup and I'm gonna do this and this is a look that I did from a show and blah, blah, blah. And so I thought to engage the audience more and to make it a little bit more exciting, I would do this thing called creating a character, because that's sort of what I do. And so what I did was I asked the people that were watching, and we had them write it down this time. Now I just have people yell it out in the audience, but they wrote down either a genre or a time period or a physical description of someone that could be done with two-dimensional makeup, so nothing that would need prosthetics. But I asked them to think about it creatively, and they yelled a whole bunch of things out, or in the first part, everybody wrote something down and I pulled pieces of paper out of a hat. And then I created a makeup look using all of those things. And it became something that I would do. And, you know, I've been brought in by Krylon and a couple other people, and I've done this on stages, and it's actually really, really fun to do. And sometimes people do get very creative, and they will say things like, I had one person who said sunshine once, and I took that challenge and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do sunshine. I'm gonna figure out how to interpret sunshine into this makeup. And so what I did was I had it look like the sun was shining on one side of my face and then the other side of my face was shadowed. So I did it as if like the light was coming here and then this whole side was shadowed. But I've gotten like crazy ones like evil queen, evil fairy tale queen, mad scientist man turning into a woman, like just a bizarre 1920s, like just a bizarre mishmash of things, and then I go through it and try to remember. So it's going to be interesting doing it this time, because this time I'm doing the drag edition of it. So what I'm going to do is take suggestions from you guys to try and come up with a drag character. Do we have a good amount of people on, Hannah?
Not quite yet. So Angela, as penance for not showing up before, might just have to give the first suggestion.
She might, but we'll need like a few more besides that. So I'm hoping that maybe if we, in a little bit, you know, some people will be watching and we'll be able to get some suggestions. So yeah, well, while we're waiting, I'm just going to do a little prep work because that'll be fine. So I'm going to use my Skindinavia makeup primer spray, which I love. I love Skindinavia's products.
The first suggestion in Joe from Angela is Red Queen. Classic.
All right. You know what? Oh, here's a pen. Perfect. And I'm going to write this down on this. So I got Red Queen. Great.
And she offered alien goddess. She's very excited.
Jesus, alien goddess. I'll write that down too. That encompasses a lot though. So just a little bit of primer on to sort of prep the skin and get it ready. And then I'm going to put on, so normally when you're going to put on a wig, you would, you know, pin curl your hair, but I don't have enough hair to really pin curl all over. I could maybe pin curl the top, but also have very fine hair. So what I do is use this like little beauty band. This is good if you have short hair. And then I take some pop clips and I pop clip the front there, and then I do 2 pop clips in the back. And I'm never, when I'm doing drag, I'm never doing like full out choreography or anything like that. So if I was, I could put some pop clips on the side. And then I'm going to take my wig cap, put my wig cap on. And then in order for the wig cap to stay with the beauty band, I'm going to just take some bobby pins. And if you, I don't know if you could see this, but I'm going to use the part of the bobby pin that kind of points out, I'm actually going to put underneath. So then that way the rest of the bobby pin lies flat. So that's a really good trick too for when you're doing your own pin curls. Instead of having, we're so used to like pinning like this with this little spot sticking up. But if you do it the other way, then this lies flat on your pin curls. And so when you put your wig cap on, it lies a little more flat.
So Evan Ross, my favorite counselor from Amherst, not my favorite, I'll get in trouble if I say that, but I love him, joined us. Evan, we're taking suggestions for the character that Joe is developing. So if you have
the drag character. So far we have Red Queen and we have Alien Goddess. If you could think of anything, it can be anything, genre, a time period, a description. So it's a drag character. So I'm going to have to create who this character is and figure out as I go along what the makeup is going to be. So anybody who's joining will keep taking some suggestions while I'm doing sort of the prep work. The next thing that I'm going to do is cover my eyebrows. So this is a really, really fun technique, and I use the Elmer's glue stick, the purple one. I use purple because if you use a lot of it, it'll be purple on you, and then when it dries clear. I never need to use that much because my eyebrows aren't super thick, but if you do have really thick eyebrows, then you need to use a lot. You can almost like spatula it on. So you could take your spatula and you could like sort of spackle it on and make it super, super thick, and then it'll make it nice and smooth. Because what's going to happen is, you know, if you're just using the stick like I do, you're still going to see the texture of the eyebrow hair because it's just what happens. You never get away from that. The only way you can get away from that is if you have super, super thin eyebrows, or if you use a prosthetic piece to cover them. So I'm going to go against the grain of the hair. So going in towards my nose with the glue and then down towards my eye, because I want to coat the back of the hairs. And then I kind of do a little bit of a circular motion to try and get all of the hair covered. Once I feel like I've got a good application, I take a clean spoolie or a mascara wand, and then I brush the hairs up. Because what you want to do is, especially if you have thick hair, you want to brush it up, because if you let it fall to the side like it normally would, the hair is going to lie on top of each other, and it'll be much thicker and you'll have a lot more texture. Whereas if you brush it up, it tends to not lie on top of itself a little bit, but it won't be as textured. So that's one eyebrow done. And this takes a lot of practice. I taught, a couple of weeks ago, I taught a class of kids from like 13 to 18, I believe. And they tried it and they actually did a pretty good job, but they were getting really, really frustrated. And I had to remind them, like, this is something that takes time and practice to do. I never used to be able to cover eyebrows. I was horrible at it. And then I was a teacher. So I'm like, I really need to learn how to teach people how to cover eyebrows because it's part of the curriculum. So I need to learn how to do it better. So, and now I have a lot of practice because I do drag a lot, so, or have been. I'm gonna add a little bit more glue going in the upward direction, following where I comb the hair, just to add a little bit more stickiness, try to get them to lie a little bit flatter. You don't want the glue to be thick unless you're spatulaing it on. And if you're using the spatula to spackle it on, then you want to sort of make sure the edges are thinned out so that you don't have a really, really thick edge, because once you use your foundation, if you have a lot of glue on there, you're going to see that edge. So now I just have to wait for this to dry. Do we get any more suggestions, Hannah? While I'm waiting for this to dry.
Yet, but we do have more people watching. We
Great.
have shy people.
Woo! All right, so for the people that are watching, what I'm going to do is create a drag character, but you're going to give me the descriptions of this character. So I want you to think of a genre or a time period or a description, you know, even in something like funny, or right now I have Red Queen and Alien Goddess. And what I'm going to do is take about 4 or 5 of these and I'm going to smash them all together into one and try and create a drag character. So if you guys have any suggestions, it could be one word, it could be whatever, anything that you think I can do with 2-dimensional makeup or that describes a type of person, or, you know, you can think outside the box for this. So right now what I've been doing is I just covered my eyebrows with glue stick. And they're still a little tacky, so I just have to wait a little bit. So while I'm waiting, I'm just going to do a light coating of foundation just to prep the skin, because I may end up using a color. I'm not sure since I got Alien Goddess. I'm using Danessa Myricks Vision Cream Cover. I love this stuff. I was never a fan of liquid, but this liquid is really great because you can share it out or you can use it really opaque. So I'm going to start working on the bottom half of my face while my eyebrows are drying. And you can see I only put a little bit on the sponge, but I can get a really, really great coverage with just that tiny bit. And I'm just going to lightly blend this all over. When I do drag, I don't wear a whole like thick foundation. I usually just use this Danessa Myricks Vision Cream Cover, and I love it because it's reflective. It makes your skin look like skin. It doesn't make you look like you have a lot of makeup on, but at the same time, you get a really great coverage. Like there have been times when I've done something where I've forgotten to shave, and actually that class I did for those kids, I was doing extreme plastic surgery and I forgot to shave, and I had a little bit of stubble, and I was able to hide the stubble with this foundation.
Oh, we have a suggestion for 21st.
What was it?
21st century Marie Antoinette royalty realness.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes. Evan has, as we say, turned it up a notch.
It's very specific. 21st century Marie Antoinette. Well, that works in with these all sort of work together. So I need one more suggestion. Let's do one more. So I have Red Queen, Alien Goddess, and 21st century Marie Antoinette realness. So one that doesn't really go along with any of those, because those can all be easily.
How about Miss Priscilla Persnickity?
Oh, I like that.
It's coming from Linda DeFrancis.
Ah, Linda. I'm trying to spell that on a paper towel. Oh, I like that. That's perfect. That gives me a whole other aspect to go with. All right. So we're doing Red Queen, Alien Goddess, 21st Century, Marie Antoinette, Realness, and Miss Priscilla Persnickity. So my eyebrows are dry now. So the next step is you want to take a powder puff and some loose powder, translucent powder, and just go over the eyebrows. You can put a good amount on, and then I just brush the excess off. And now we're gonna cover them with a color. So most eyebrows tend to be cooler in color. Unless you're a redhead, then they're a little bit warmer. But even if you're a blonde, like I was at one point, you still, your eyebrows are a little cooler. So in order to combat them, in order to make that sort of disappear, you need to use something that's a little warmer. So we're gonna do a little bit of color correction now. So I'm using another of the Vision Cream color, which is a W1, which is the lightest, warmest color that they have. And I'm gonna paint that right on over. And what's gonna happen is it's gonna cover this, it's gonna cover my eyebrows, and the warmth is actually gonna take out the coolness of the eyebrows. So you'll notice that if you've tried to cover your eyebrows in the past and you just use whatever foundation color that you have, it doesn't always get rid of it. And you can still sort of see this little bit of darkness underneath. And it's usually because you didn't really color correct. Also, if you guys have any questions as we go along, just type them in the comments and Hannah will ask me the questions as we go along. So don't feel like you have to wait for any moment to ask the question. You can just ask, even if it's not pertaining to exactly what I'm doing now, but it's a question about something else pertaining to this, then, you know, feel free. So
Angela wants to know, why does your skin look so amazing?
Why does my skin look so amazing? Because I take very good care of it. I use good skin products, which we can go over at the end of what I do, and I can show you how easy I can get all of this makeup off with products. And then also, you know, I moisturize, you know, use eye cream. And also it helps, like using the Skindinavia primer spray, and then also using this Vision Cream cover is really amazing. So I've covered the eyebrows with the warm color, which I'm going to do a little bit more on this one. And normally you wouldn't use a liquid to do this because liquids will tend to, you know, might not cover as well, but because of the opacity of this product, it actually covers really well. But normally you would probably use a cream for this. So then I'm going to take some more powder and just powder over what I put on there. Just adds an extra layer. And then I'll brush off the excess. So while I'm doing this, I'm also trying to think of how I'm going to incorporate all of your suggestions into this to make this a cohesive character. So there may be some things that, you know, may show up a little bit more. And when you're doing something like this, even when you're creating any kind of character, like I teach makeup artists that come from all different backgrounds and do different things, and they, you know, people that do bridal. We always tell them, like, when you're doing a bride, you're creating a character. You're figuring out what you want to look like for that day. You've got a certain style of dress, you may have a certain style of hair. And so it's important to sort of realize what that is going to be. All right. So that is done. And I'm going to do a little bit of contouring and highlighting with some more of this Vision Cream cover. So I'm going to use a really light one, which is the N1. And I'm just going to do a little bit of highlighting. here. But I'm also thinking alien, so I want to change the structure of my face a little bit.
Joe, where did you learn to do drag makeup?
Doing it. Is that a good answer? Well, in order to cover eyebrows, I actually watched Miss Fame's YouTube video on how to cover eyebrows. And so that's how I started to learn how to cover eyebrows better and what I needed to do. And then as I've gone along and as I've done it myself, I figured out what works for me, what things I need to do for myself, because everybody's face is different. So you have this idea of what you want it to be. And sometimes it doesn't always come out the way that you want it. So over time, I've realized, like, I have hooded eyebrows. So I had to figure out how to do that. And through Kimchi, actually, was one of the drag queens that had said that she does liner all on the top of her lid. She's Asian, so doesn't have a crease, but does it all on the top of her lid. And then that way she doesn't have to worry about it creasing up. And so I've learned that for me, that actually helps as well when I'm doing Mr. Drag, but other things I change up and make it work a little bit different. So I'm just gonna
Give a heart for Mrs. Bang.
Oh. So I'm gonna just go in with a little bit of some highlights. I'm thinking about how I'm gonna change the structure of my face. So think about this part of it, because I haven't powdered everything down yet. This is like when you're painting a canvas and you're sort of prepping the canvas. So you're gessoing it, you're putting it down, and then creating this sort of underpainting almost of what you're going to do. And I'm just going to use a little bit. This is a darker color, so I'm going to go in a little bit with this to create this kind of high cheekbone. And a lot of people use beauty blenders for this kind of stuff. I prefer sponges. I love what a beauty blender does, but washing a beauty blender is a pain. So I tend not to use it. And now also because we're going to have to be a lot more aware of hygiene. I mean, we were always very much aware of hygiene in theater and in film and TV, but now we have to be a lot more aware of hygiene. So we're going to have to change a lot of our practices. So using a beauty blender isn't really going to work because you can't use the same one on multiple people. So I'm thinking about the structure of my forehead and how I can change that up a little bit, which is why I'm doing a little bit of this contouring in here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to powder over everything. I feel good. That's a good underpainting for me. So I'm just going to put lots of powder on.
Joe, I have an extended character description for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Linda DeFrancis says Priscilla would be a very outspoken, gum-chewing, lovable character who is straight out of the 1950s with the big teased hair, heavy makeup, who loves wearing tight sweaters and poodle skirts, saddle shorts and bobby socks, and is also comfortable with the sleek evening wear of that era.
That really is extended, isn't it? Okay, and I have to fit that in with Alien Goddess Red Queen 21st Century Marie Antoinette realness. Got it. Cool. I'm going to take some loose powder because I'm going to be doing probably a lot of makeup work on my eyes. So I'm going to take some loose powder and put it underneath my eye so that way if any of the eyeshadow falls down, it'll fall on the powder and not on my face, so I won't have to redo my foundation. This is also a process that the youth like to call baking, where you like push the powder in and you kind of let it sit in and it kind of like really sets into your skin. All right. Okay. I don't even know where to start on these. All right. Let's just start. So I'm going to, I have this really great palette, which has a lot of my neutrals and then my colors. And I'm going to start creating a bit of a crease for myself. I need to start somewhere, and I'm almost thinking I may not actually have eyebrows since this is an alien goddess. For that part, kind of almost works for everything else except for maybe Miss Persnickity, but I think there's other things that I can do for that. So I'm creating a crease in here, and I'm using a pencil brush and sort of a light taupey color. So that way I can make sure it's what I want it to be. And if it's not in the right place, or I decide I want to change the shape a little bit, if I use that light taupe color, then it can help, like it's easier to sort of, you know, rub away or get rid of a little bit. I'm going to bring this out. So one of the things with drag makeup too is historically drag makeup started because, you know, I mean, historically it started way back. But if you think about what we think of as modern drag, it really was men who just wanted to dress up as women and idolized these movie stars. And so they tried very hard. They didn't cover their eyebrows. They would try very hard to make their makeup look like their movie stars, like Betty Davis and Joan Crawford and Audrey Hepburn. So if you see a lot of older pictures of men in drag, it usually looks like men in drag, like they look like men, because they didn't have a lot of the products or a lot of the techniques that we have now. So now it's evolved, and what I love seeing is how drag has evolved into something that encompasses everything. It's not about looking like a pretty lady anymore, although there is that drag, but like it's more about expression, artistic expression.
So Angela asks if that's not your eyebrow that you're drawing in, that line you're following.
Nope, this is my crease. So I try, it's actually on my eyebrow, but I'm drawing in the crease. I need to start somewhere. Usually I start with my eyebrows, but I don't think I'm actually going to do an eyebrow for this. So I needed to start somewhere and give myself some sort of shape. So I'm doing the crease first, just so that I can see where I want to put other things. So now that I have this sort of taupey color in, I am going to go in with my angled brush, and I'm going to choose a burgundy. And I'm going to draw on the bottom part of this where I created my crease. And then I'm just going to take the pencil brush and then I'm going to blend that out. But I'm blending it up so that I still get this hard edge right there.
Angela's curious if you ever had to do any drag makeup for Broadway shows you've designed.
I mean, some of them could be considered drag, but they're not. But I did do a production of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert in Boston at a regional theater. So I did have to do that, but I wasn't as experienced with drag makeup. I wish I could get to do that again. because now I know a lot more about drag makeup from having done it myself so many times. I'm a little bit more experienced with it, so I wish that I could do that production again. But I mean, I've done pretty heavy makeup. I mean, Follies, we had all of these women who were supposed to be ghosts of the Follies girls in the theater, and they had like full on showgirl makeup on, which was basically drag makeup. We didn't have them cover their eyebrows, but other than that, the rest of it was pretty much the same. So yeah, so I'm starting to get like a little bit of a crease in there. I'm going to take the burgundy and bring it in a little bit more. Just to give a little bit more dimension. And then take my brush and fan it in. All right. So now I am gonna work on my eyelid, and let's do, this is a fun one. I'm gonna take this sort of teal color. And put it right in there. It's a really, really great color. And it's shiny and reflective. I'm just going to apply that sort of on this outer corner, going right up into where the crease is. And down onto the eyelid. And because I want it to be a little bit brighter, I'm going to use a little bit of a light blue on top of it. That's going to give me also, I'm thinking, that sort of very stylized 1950s blue eyeshadow.
Joe, what are some of the favorite makeups that you have designed for shows? Angela's asked.
Let's see. Madame Morrible is probably one of my favorites from Wicked. Yeah, that has to be my like one overall favorite that I really, really love. There's a lot in Beetlejuice, like Miss Argentina and Beetlejuice, Juno and Beetlejuice, I really, really love a lot. Who's like, if any of you know Beetlejuice, Juno is the caseworker that they meet in the underworld and in the netherworld, sorry. And so that was a really fun one to do. I think overall, probably Beetlejuice is probably the most fun and creative that I've ever been doing a show. You know, I had to figure out how to get people in and out of makeups throughout the show and make it so that they could transform into all these different characters. So I did a little bit of a light shimmer on the inside. It's kind of hard to see in this light. And now I'm going in with a brown over this burgundy. Also, the blue is kind of giving me a little bit of, you know, maybe not the Red Queen, but the Queen of Hearts. So I'm kind of going to that like little bit Alice in Wonderland. Like if we think about the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland, you know, had that, she had that like crazy blue on the top. Where's that brush? I'm gonna take a little bit of white so I can highlight in here. So when you're doing the drag makeup, one of the things to think about too is making things look bigger. You know, exaggerating lines, exaggerating shapes. So just a little highlight in there. And I'm not going to do eyebrows, so I'm going to take what makeup I actually have and start blending it up into this area. And then I'm also going to start blending it out. So I know that a lot of drag queens will tend to use creams for a lot of what they do. I don't. I can work with creams and I like creams, but I prefer shadows because I feel like I have a little bit more control and can get a little bit more subtlety. Sometimes the creams might go on a little bit too strong, you know, and then trying to blend them out doesn't always work the way that you want it to.
What is your dream show to work on that you haven't had a chance to design yet?
Just funny, I had shows that I wanted to do and I've done them. So I don't know if I have a dream show that I would want to work on right now that I can think of offhand. Like Sweet Charity was one and Wild Party was the other. Those were the two that I really, really wanted to do, and I got to do those. Both with Sutton Foster, by the way, which was great. So yeah, you know, I love being creative. So a show where I can like, it's not just a straight period show like a 1940s musical or something like that. So it's something that I can actually like, you know, be creative and experiment and have fun with. I think are the ones sort of what I would like to keep doing. All right. So I want a little bit more definition in my crease. So I'm gonna use my angled brush with a black and really define that part of the crease. And then if I take the side of the brush, I can blend the edge, the top edge up. So I still get that really nice defined shape there. But then I can blend it up into the other colors so it doesn't look quite like a line.
So Joe, I'm curious now, like as you're creating this character and we're giving you suggestions, do you see it in your head already, or is it still like you're just sort of pulling threads that are drifting around in your brain about it?
I'm still pulling threads. I don't have a clear idea. I have clear ideas of what I'm going to do for certain things to represent certain parts of it, because these are such disparate characters. To try and, you know, make something that represents all of them, you have to sort of pick and choose. And so I've started thinking that part of it, like what can I have to represent the Marie Antoinette part of this? Because Marie Antoinette, I would have a powdery white face, you know, very little makeup on here on my eyes, and then tiny little lips, and like a mole somewhere. So, you know, and for an alien, I might do something that's another color, you know, do the skin color differently, reshape my face, you know, reshape the structure. For the Red Queen, you know, you can go in so many different directions for that, but you know, sort of stereotypically what you sort of think of as like an evil queen type of look from like a Disney movie or something. And then for Miss Priscilla Persnickity, now that I have all that, it's, you know, so it's 1950s. So how do I combine those things is the first thing. And so my job that I think of right away is what can I use out of all of these? Because I'm not going to be any one of these. I'm going to be the combination of them. So, and that's when you're finding inspiration. You can find inspiration from many different sources that you think don't go together, but there are elements that you can use that can make them go together. So I'm taking a little bit more of the black, and then I'm blending this out. So normally too, what I would do is I would be getting, I would go online and find reference to use, because with the reference, then you're able to like pull from it. You can see it visually. I'm just going to grab something else out of my kit that I don't have ready. And I haven't even decided what lashes I'm going to wear. So this is
also wondering about your wig.
Yeah, I'm still trying to. I think I know which wig I'm going to wear for this, but I'm uncertain because I now have the thing about the big hair. So I have a clue as to what I'm going to wear. So we'll see. But I'm going to use this Flash Color palette from Make Up Forever. Gotta remember hygiene. So it's a cream. So I'm going to take some of the cream out, put it on my palette.
Linda says she can't wait to see the wig or headpiece that will go with this. So there's a little pressure.
No pressure at all. So I want to make my eyes a little bit bigger. So I'm going to do the underneath part with the white. And the reason that I'm using the cream is because I really want this white to really stand out. And if I just used white eyeshadow, it may not be strong enough. So if ever you have an eyeshadow that you're trying to get on that you want to be really, really strong, you can do a cream first and then do the shadow over it. Also, one of the things that's been happening a lot for me is my eyes water a lot now when I do my makeup, and they never used to. So it's been a really interesting experience of doing this makeup now and especially doing these drag makeups and figuring out what products to use and what's going to happen. And, I can kind of tell a lot of times like how my eyes are going to water, how much they're going to water now. So now I'm going to go over this cream with a white shadow. And in between each time, I'm sort of wiping off the brush just in case any of the cream gets on the brush. Because you don't want the cream to get into your shadow. All right. So I feel good about what's happening in my eyes. So I'm going to brush off this powder so I can see a little bit better for the underneath. And there we go. Just blending that out a little bit. The cream goes on pretty strong, so this will help me sort of blend out the edges a little bit. And I'm going to use a liquid liner, but first I'm going to go in with a powder.
Angela's wondering if you used cream makeup for Beetlejuice or Wicked.
We use some, not a whole lot though. Cream makeup on stage, like you really would have to set it really, really, really well. And with Beetlejuice especially, these people are getting in and out of makeups, so they're already going to be sweaty as it is. So to have them then on top of that, like use a cream makeup and be sweaty, and if they don't powder well enough, it's just going to slide right off their face.
Linda's asking, is it okay for a quote unquote mature woman like myself to use a white shadow on the lower lid for everyday makeup? And if so, would you recommend a powder over a cream for that?
Linda, do you mean using a white like down here where I just used a white? If that's the question, then the answer is you don't want to use this much, obviously, because it'll look crazy. But you can use a white pencil on the inner, like inside on the waterline, which looks a little bit normal, looks more normal, and it also will make your eye look a little bit bigger. You can also, a pale yellow pencil works really well because sometimes if you're a little bit red under there, it'll cut that out. So, but yeah, you could do it in the waterline, just not underneath like this, because there's no way that that's going to actually look natural. And the only thing that with a mature skin that you want to be sure of is you want to try and stay away from shimmers, because a lot of times mature skin, especially on the eyelid, tends to be have a little bit more folds or a little bit more wrinkles on them. And so if you use any of the shimmery shadows, it tends to stick in and sort of look, it tends to accentuate them a little bit more. But yeah, and you also want to get a foundation that tends to be a little bit more moisturizing, because a lot of times as you get older, your skin will dry out a little bit more. So you either want to get a foundation that has good moisture to it, so usually tending to go for a liquid, or a really great moisturizer or a really great face oil, which works. So I went in with some brown, and then I'm just blending that out, and you can see I'm sort of winging it out a little bit. Still don't know everything I'm doing, but I'm getting there, all right, I'm going to take a little bit of a break from my eyes and start working a little bit on structure. So I've got this really great contour palette from MAC that I use. So I'm going to start creating a little bit of structure in my nose. So I'm going to come in at an angle here. Bring it down. Thinning it out a little bit. I'm going to bring it in a little bit so it looks a little bit more ridge-like there. And then I'm going to start working on my forehead a little bit more.
Angela wants to know, can you contour your nose for every day? And also, why contour?
Yes, you can contour your nose for every day. You just have to make sure that you do it lightly. And it's to help, if you want to change the shape of your nose. So, if you feel like, if you have a very wide nose and you want a thinner nose, you can just contour in a little bit. If you have a thin nose and you want a little bit of a wider nose, you could actually highlight more down the center, and it'll make the nose look a little wider. But in normal everyday life, you have to be a little bit careful of that, because you don't want it to look crazy. You'll see in a lot of like videos, a lot of the singers will like be contoured like crazy. and like they look like stripes down their noses, which is fine in a video, but if you're going to walk out into real life, you may not want to have that. So what I'm doing now is I'm sort of creating a little bit of a shadow to make this look almost like I have a bit of a lump in here. And I'm going to do that here as well. To make this, to make those parts look like they're I also know where the wig's going to sit on my head, so I don't have to go up as far. But you should probably go up to the hairline normally. This contour is looking a little bit too dark for me, so I'm going to take the sponge with the foundation that I used and just sort of go over this a little bit to blend it out. It's not quite matching what my other contour is.
Joe, can you remind folks just joining what the inspiration for this look is?
Ooh. Am I frozen or are you frozen?
I think we're okay. I don't see any.
Are you frozen or am I frozen?
I must be frozen because nothing's frozen for me.
I think it's me. Okay, there we go. Now you're okay. So what was that? I missed that whole.
For folks just tuning in, can you remind everyone what the inspiration for the look is?
Yes. So this is a combination of Red Queen, Alien Goddess, 21st Century Marie Antoinette realness, and Miss Priscilla Persnickity, who is sort of like 1950s, big hair, chews gum, that kind of thing. So I'm trying to figure out a way to combine all of those into one drag character. And trying to pull elements from each of those into this. So I'm going to add some highlight now so I can start to see these shapes take shape. So sometimes you can even do highlights or contours without having the other by it, because the area around will start to, like, the skin color is darker anyway, so you can start to create this shape. So this on my forehead, obviously this center I want to be the highest point. So that's where most of my highlight is going to go. So I'm going to like pack it on there. It almost looks like a circle now, but then I can blend it out. So we can start to get a little bit of more of a shape. And then I feel like also I want to just darken this. So I'm just using the brush that I used for my eyeshadow. And so I'm not putting anything else on the brush. I'm just using whatever was left on the brush so that it just darkens it a little bit, but not a whole lot. And I'm trying to go as close as I can to the edge so that it just sort of darkens it in that area. So what's funny is that you could look at this and it would really just kind of look like a crazy sort of alien makeup on its own. And so, but once we add in lips and blush and lashes, it starts to become something different. So again, I'm using that same brush, the same crease brush that I used to blend out my eyes. I haven't put any new color on it. I'm just using whatever's left over on it. And it's actually doing exactly what I want it to do. So I've sort of structured this part of my face. I've got my little bit of 50s blue eyeshadow on. And now I'm going to do my my liner. So this is one of the things that I've also discovered is that it's very difficult for me to use liquid liner, like a pen liquid liner, to go all the way across. Because my eyes are hooded and they come down, I really have to be careful about how I put this on, because one, I have a bit of a difficulty doing it. It's hard to do liner on yourself. And two, I need something that is going to dry really quickly, so that if for some reason I open up my eye too big at one point, like it's going to be dried. So I use this sort of cream liner, which is from Cosette, the line called Cosette. And I use this square thin brush. And I only use this for me, so I don't have to be hygienic with it. And then what I can do is I can just start to paint in my eyeliner. And I can do it in small sections. And what I do is I always tilt my head back and look into the mirror. So that way my eye is always somewhat closed. And it prevents the creasing. So even if you're doing regular eyeliner, this is really great. If you keep your head tilted back until it dries, you won't get that transfer. And then I'm going to wing it out. Sorry if I get out of frame for a little bit. I just need to get a little closer to the mirror so I can see. And I'm going to do a little bit of a sort of drag version of a 1950s liner. So a little bit bigger than what it would be. But again, we're making everything bigger. Now, see, you can see like how my eye is hooded and so it comes down here. So even though it goes straight across here, it looks like it comes down. So what I'm going to do is paint a little bit higher and make that a little thicker, and then start to look at it so it starts to make the shape that I want it to make.
Joe, what is your favorite feature to work on?
Eyes. Eyes are always my favorite, because with different eye shapes, they can be quite challenging. And there's so much that you can do. Like whenever I find someone or I have to do makeup on someone that has like so much eye space, it gets me very excited because I'm like, oh my God, there's so much I can do with you. But then you get people like me who have hooded eyelids and it becomes a challenge. You know, I've been brought out many times for the shows that I've designed to redo someone's makeup. For Beautiful, they had hired someone who had hooded eyelids. They couldn't figure out, and there was no makeup person hired for the show. So it's just the hair person trying to tell them what to do. And they couldn't figure out something that would work. So they had to bring me in to sort of redesign it. The same thing with Madame Morrible. It was Madame Morrible who had such tiny, tiny little eyes even when in normal life, when she had her eyes open, they still look like they were closed. So it was then figuring out, well, how do I do this? And it was sort of doing this sort of drag makeup, you know, creating a really big crease and doing a lot of light space on the lid so that it almost looked, and then just doing the liner on the outside so it looked like her eyes were open and creating an illusion that she had eyes when her eyes were like super, super tiny. And now I'm going to go in and just do the bottom and try and do as thin as possible on the bottom. It's like the game Operation. It takes a very steady hand. So don't try this if you've had too much coffee. And I'm notorious with my eyes never looking the same on myself. When I'm doing someone else's makeup, I have no problem with making their makeup look symmetrical. On myself, very rarely does it happen that it actually looks symmetrical. Like now. And this eye's always better than that eye. I don't know why. Also, my eye is watering, so the white is sort of disappearing from here. And then what happens is the dark colors start to smush up. So I'm just going to add some more white in there and then go back over with my black.
Angela says, just a casual look. Love it.
Yeah, it's very casual. You know, it's just every day. You know, going out to the Big Y. And now I would be done if I was going out to Big Y because I'd be wearing a mask. So I wouldn't even have to do my lips. So yeah, I feel pretty good about that. I'm liking what's happening. I'm liking the what's happening with the contour and the highlighting.
Angela asks, how long have you been doing makeup?
I've been doing makeup for over 20 years, and I've been designing for Broadway for 18 years, 17 years. I love that Angela's asking all the questions that she already knows the answers to.
I know at one point she apologized for all the questions. And I was like,
no, it's good. It keeps me talking because sometimes, especially like, I don't know for any of you that do art or, but what happens is when I get, it's like when I paint, when I get into it, I get so focused on what I'm doing that I forget what's happening around me. And so it's good to have questions to answer so that way I can keep talking, because there are times when I could maybe just like blank out and not talk for, could talk or not talk for hours and still have something to not talk about. For any of you that know Best in Show. I'm gonna add in a little bit of highlight here just to accentuate that contour. I like what's happening with these things going on here. Yeah. So I'm going to start doing a little bit of contour on my jawline. And usually, you know, if you're a man trying to do drag and look like a woman, you know, typically, not always, but typically a man will have a little bit more of a square face, a little bit harder edge to it. And women's faces tend to be a little bit rounder, softer. So I'm going to I have a little bit of a square jaw, so I'm going to get rid of that by contouring in and making it a little bit softer so you don't see that squareness of it. So I'm taking the contour and putting it right over. It's actually coming up onto my face a little bit. And then I'm going to take it and bring it down. I'm using this fan brush. I like a fan brush because I have more control over it. If you use a brush like this to do your contour, it's so wide and so poofy that you're doing this, you're either going to get this big stripe or else you end up covering so much space on your face that you then lose the jawline. So this allows you to be able to be a little bit more specific about where you place it, and it's soft enough then that you can blend it out. Also, both the sides of my face look different because I have a brighter light on this side and then a warmer light on this side, but that's okay. What I'm also going to try to do is bring my chin into a little bit more of a point. So I'm just going to contour in a little bit here and then continue it into this line here. There's this great ad that Mac did with Boy George back in the day, and Boy George, you know, had gained a lot of weight and, you know, had a much thicker neck than he had back in the day. And they did this thing where they painted black, and they basically painted in a jawline for him and painted all of this black. So when you looked at it, it kind of, this black faded to the black of the background. So it just looked like shadow. But it was all makeup. So I love when you can do things like that. There we go. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this. So this is my blush palette. Take a little bit of this pink. And I'm just gonna go on the apples of my cheeks. Giving you a little bit of that Marie Antoinette. And I'm going in with a little bit more of like a raspberry color on top of it. So I'm finding like the little things that I want to do. And then I'm going to use the Kat Von D liquid liner. And draw in a little heart shape beauty mark. Voila, Marie Antoinette. A lot harder to do than I thought, being this far away from the mirror. All right. So I'm just going to step off for a bit to find some lashes. There we go. A very big bin of lashes. You know what? I think I'm going to have to go. What's funny is I have a separate bin for Mr. Drag lashes. So I'm going to go into the Mr. Drag lashes because I feel like those would work a little bit better.
Joe, we have some new folks who have joined us. So can you tell us a little bit what's happening?
So what I'm doing right now is I am looking for some lashes because what I did was I took suggestions from the people that were watching in the beginning as to what kind of drag makeup to do. So the suggestions were Red Queen, alien goddess, 21st century Marie Antoinette realness, and Miss Priscilla Persnickity, who's like a 1950s big hair, gum chewing, sassy lady. So I'm combining all of those into one new drag character. So I'm going to use my duo adhesive. I'm putting some on my palette, and then I'm taking a pointy Q-tip, and I'm going to dip the pointy Q-tip into it and then put it on the lash. I've started doing the lashes this way because I realized what was happening was, especially when I was doing Mr. Drag a lot, I was putting way too much glue on there, and it was getting harder and harder to, you know, wear lashes over several times because there was too much glue on there. And then if I was trying to get the glue off, a lot of times it would pull some of the hairs out. So this way, I have a little bit more control over it. I'm not putting as much glue on it. And then what it also does is, because when you put your lashes on, it actually pulls some of the makeup off with it. So what I was having, especially on the underneath ones that I would put on for Mr. Drag, I would end up like they would just be colored like with my foundation color, and it was just a mess. So I'm gonna let those dry for a bit. Lips. Well, I know I'm gonna do red lips because I want to keep to this. I was going to do small lips a la Marie Antoinette until I found out Miss Persnickity was from the 1950s. And so I feel like we need to do some big ass lips on her. So I am going to, nope, that's not the color I want. That is not, I thought I had a cherry in here. All right, I'm just going to use this one. Oh, I do have cherry. Here it is. Cool. I'm going to use a cherry liner from MAC. So I'm not going to be able to talk for a while, so I'll just explain a little bit of the design so far for the people that just joined. So I sort of restructured my face a little bit so that it looks a little bit more alien. I took away my eyebrows. And then, so for the alien part of it, you know, made a little bit bigger, more sexy. And then for Marie Antoinette, I did, you know, the little cheeks, the little heart here. Red Queen, I mean, you can kind of, this could be interpreted as a Red Queen if I had the right outfit and the right wig with it. You know, be a much different interpretation of a Red Queen. And then with Miss Priscilla, I've got the blue eyeshadow like in the 1950s, and I'm going to do 1950s style lips. So I'm thinking like Marilyn Monroe-esque lips, but much bigger. So in the 1950s, the lips were very round. There's a few different shapes, but the Marilyn Monroe one was like having that little point right there, but then very round going out.
Linda's curious if this character has a name yet.
I do not have a name yet. I've been trying to think of something. But I can't quite come up with anything yet. Also, I think once the wig is on, that might help. So I drew below the lip, and if you're looking at it straight forward, you don't see it, but I have to do this because I want to make sure that it's even all the way around. Sorry for being so silent while I'm doing my lips. So my eyelashes should be in a good place now and tacky. They might actually be dry, so I might have to do them again. I'm going to place the inner corner where I want it to be. And then go along the outer corner. And I always bring them up a little bit at the edges. Yep, I'm gonna have to do these over because I waited too long and it dried all out. The inner corner was okay, but the outer corner pretty much had all dried up. So gonna reapply my glue and keep working on my lips. So I'm gonna use this really great color from Pat McGrath, which is, make sure I get it, is called McGrath. So it's a really bright, beautiful red. So I put a little bit onto my spatula, and then I'm just going to use this little brush. And just fill in the lips. Oh, big lips are always fun. But there's something that I want to do with this, which is, so that's really good. I'm happy with that. Not happy with getting all the lipstick, but I am going to, because I have this thought with Miss Persnickity that I need to just add some lines down the side so it always looks like she's sort of like unhappy. Like she's always looking at you like, really? Oh, that's what you're wearing? Really? Okay. Just to add a little bit more of character. And those, just doing little things like that are really great things to do to sort of like add a little fun to it. There's a woman that plays, when I'm Mr. Drag, she plays my older sister, Kat, who is like sort of a nymphomaniac drinker, drinks a lot more or as much as Mr. Drag. Just putting a little gloss on. And we purposely do her makeup asymmetrical, and so that it's always off and her lipstick is always smeared a little bit, like, because she's never quite perfect, so her eyeliner's off. And this last holiday show that we did, her eyelash popped up right at the beginning of the show, and she's like, can you fix it for me? And I was like, no. I was like, we are leaving it like that. And so she had one eyelash that was popped up here, so it came up like this, and it just made her look even crazier, and I loved it.
You're getting a hello from Soph Dulude II.
Hi, Soph. Yeah, there we go. That's much better. So I brought it up a little bit on the ends because again, because of the shape of my eye, if I follow my actual eye, it will just, it'll give me sad Angela Lansbury eyes. There you go. Yeah, not too bad. So this is sort of wearing off. I'm just going to add a little bit more here. I'm not sure I like the underliner, but it's too late now, so I have to kind of go with it. But looking at this now, I probably would change that, and I probably wouldn't do this underliner. But I think one thing that might help balance it out is taking the black liner and coming in here. Oh, watery eyes. So that'll help balance it a little bit. So here. I'm going to grab another Q-tip, see if I can fix that up a little bit, but it may just have to be what it is for now. If I was actually going out or doing a performance, I would fix it much better than this. But this is the problem, is that a lot of times that's what happens with my eye, is that it waters on the inside and then it smudges the black. I can try to go in and fix it with some of the white. All right. So looking at this, like I would probably end up like tweaking a bunch of things, you know, changing things up. You know, maybe using a different color in certain places, but this is kind of giving me what I wanted. So now I'm going to go choose a wig. Obviously, I need something big. I feel this one might be a little bit more appropriate. And yeah, okay. Hold on, I only have so much room on here, so I need to make a little room for the wig on the wig stand so I can unblock it, because it's all pinned onto the stand.
So exciting.
So this wig is actually the wig that, speaking of my Mr. Drag's older sister, Kat, this is actually her wig that she wears, that I styled. I just restyled this, so it's in a really nice condition. It's super big. It gives me that sort of fantasy. It can actually, if it was styled just slightly differently, you know, it would also work for Marie Antoinette. So I need to clean that lace. It's a little dark. So I just need to grab some pins. Hold on.
Joe, when do you start hearing like the voice of the character? When does she start coming through?
It's usually if I have a clear concept of who the character is, then it'll happen beforehand. But like for this, I don't know, it might take me a few tries. I mean, Mr. Drag took me a while before I finally got the voice down. So a lot of times it's practice. You know, it's doing it a few times to be able to be like, oh, this works, this doesn't work. I'm just pinning in these bottom edges so that it doesn't flip out. This one flips out a little bit, but normally I would pin all the way around too, so. But I don't need to do that this time. So this is kind of good. I mean, I wish I had time to get into an outfit too, but that would take too long. But I also feel like, you know, sometimes she might wear these glasses, you know, and which does hide a lot of the makeup itself, but you know, I feel that that would be sometimes appropriate that she wears her glasses, you know, and jewelry, of course, which I have tons of jewelry here, but also like picking out, that's another thing, is like picking out what style. You know, Linda said that she was 1950s, but you know, she's also alien. So to find something that would sort of fit that. I wonder if this would fit. Oh, but I don't think I can get, oh, I can get this on. Hold on. I pulled something just in case, because I thought maybe this would work for what people said, and it kind of does. And I don't have any of the undergarments on, but I can at least get this top part on. And so obviously I would have my corset and everything on, but oh God, oh God, oh God.
You're getting a lot of positive reinforcement from people. We have an awesome and a fabulous, and Angela says, how many wigs do you
Okay. I'm gonna scoot down so I can get some jewelry on. How many wigs do I own? Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, plus some ones that are down in the basement. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 foam wigs that I made. So yeah, this is good. So yeah, and they all used to be in Mr. Drag style, but now since I've started doing other characters, I've started doing different styles. Okay, all right, earring almost in, almost there. This is how it is all the time when I'm getting ready. All right, there we go. So I feel like this is good. It's very space agey. Works for space age. It's really 60s, but it could work for a little bit of 50s, you know, a little bit of sparkle. And I pulled these, so like, because it has the blue in it, has the red in it. So it pulls from the makeup itself. I don't know what I do with those glasses either. Yeah, I'm not sure what her voice would be just yet. Now, see, also looking at this and seeing where the wig hits, like this isn't quite working for me. I would probably bring it down a little bit because it doesn't quite look right with where the hairline is. So it would be maybe just bringing that down a little bit. But yeah, so I got a little bit of everything in there, you know, sort of a little 1950s, a little alien, a little queen-ish, yeah, and a little Marie Antoinette. And then I was also thinking another thing that I could do was, which wouldn't read on here so much, it would read more in a photo, would be to take like a white powder and sort of maybe like just sort of powder in areas so that it looks a little bit more powdery and white. But so yeah.
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
Oh, Alexa just thought I spoke to her and I did not. Are there any other questions about this? Anything else that anybody wants to ask? Because then I can show you also what I do to take it off. And I think that's always important, but I'm going to take pictures first. So I'm going to take a few selfies. Oh yeah, I think she has this look a lot too, with like one eye bigger than the other. I think she just looks at you like that. Then you know something's wrong.
Linda says you nailed it.
Mm-hmm. I knew it from the name. She didn't even have to give me, although the 1950s was a good addition to it, but for just from that name, I kind of got it. So I'm going to start to take it off so that you could see if you have the right products, it actually helps. So let me just take these pins out of here so I can put it back on the wig block.
Linda's still wanting a name.
I don't know. This would be one I would really have to think about this for a while, a name for this, because this one's like out of the ordinary. So usually what I'll do is I'll sometimes think of a name first and then create the character around that. So creating the character and then trying to think of a name is opposite of what I normally do. So I'd have to really figure out who this person is and who this character is, because I still don't know her all that well. And I don't know what she's like, and I still haven't been able to have the time to really develop it. So I think that will come over time. And but once I do come up with a name, I will tell you, Linda, what it is. All right, so I'm gonna take my lashes off.
Angela's curious how long you've been doing drag.
Like really doing it 3 years while I've been up here. I did it every so often, but I was never always that comfortable with doing it because I wasn't comfortable with myself. And once I became more comfortable with myself and I started doing it really, I guess I started doing it this probably 6 years ago at the camp that I used to work at, Camp Highlight, which is for kids that have LGBTQ parents. And I ran the talent show and hosted it. And I wanted to show these kids that they could do whatever they wanted and be whatever they wanted to be and not worry about what other people think. And so I was the last person at that time that they thought would get into drag. And in fact, when the show was about to start, they could see my feet in heels and they thought it was the woman that was co-hosting with me. And then it opened up and then they didn't know who it was at first until they saw my tattoos, and then they realized it was me. Now, of course, over the years, because I started doing drag activities at the camp, you know, they expected it from me, obviously. So it's much more. So I guess like 6 years ago, I started doing it at camp. So I would do it once a year, and then really doing it here was probably about 3 years ago. Was the first time I did Mr. Drag, but he was. Well, no, because I did a show before the year before that where I was in drag, but it wasn't, I was just singing and I was just sort of myself, but in drag. But yeah, Mr. Drag started about 3 years ago and then sort of developed over time into who he is now, the big old drunk that he is now.
Angela is offering the name Lady Sylvia Flugel Snatch Jones. And also saying goodbye and she loves you.
Okay, goodbye. Doesn't quite work yet. I'll figure out something. I'll look at the pictures. So I'm gonna take this off. I use my Skindinavia makeup remover spray. This stuff is amazing and you will see how amazing it is. So just spray that all over. And then I take my Neutrogena wipe.
Oh, sorry. She was saying goodbye to Linda. So Soph is offering Miss Conesta Bloom.
Oh, I like Climnestra. I like Climnestra. That's good. but like you can see how fast, and this is still you just using one wipe, how fast it comes off. And this is one of the reasons that my skin is in such a good condition, because I have the right products to be able to take off all this makeup without having to really like destroy my skin or you know, take away a lot of it, you know, a lot of the moisture from it. But yeah, usually when I do Mr. Drag, I can take off all of my makeup with that spray and 3 wipes, and then I'm usually good.
Wow, that was fast. That's just off.
Yeah. So also because I don't use, like, a lot of drag queens will use the Krylon TV paint sticks, which are these really like heavy cream sticks, which are amazing. They're really good, like if you know, if you're a guy that has 5 o'clock shadow that doesn't go away, it's really good at covering that. But I don't need that. So the products I use aren't super heavy. But this stuff, the Skindinavia spray is great. And so normally I would wash my face or something, but right now I'm just going to use their post makeup recovery spray. So it just sort of soothes the skin. It moisturizes a little bit. Yeah, and it makes your skin feel really great. And we use this on Michael Urie in Torch Song Trilogy. Well, that was called Trilogy, Touch Song, on Broadway. And because he was in bad 70s drag in the opening and then had to get out of it really quickly and then just be fresh faced after that. So he didn't even have time to put on any makeup. So we needed something that would sort of, you know, make his skin feel better, but also sort of make him look a little bit more fresh. And so this spray did it. So there you go.
That was amazing.
Yeah. Thanks. It was fun. It was fun to create that. I've done this. It's different to create a drag character than it is just to create, you know, just to throw a whole bunch of random things. If I wasn't creating a drag character per se, I might have done some things differently. Or I also might have said, well, you know, let's like take one of these out. Let's try put something else in, you know, just to see what, because some things, you know, I liked all of these and they would have all be really great characters on their own. So it was great to, you know, to be able to combine them all, but I probably would, you know, like I couldn't really, it was hard to do with the Red Queen. I think the Red Queen would have been a little bit more if I had used my red wig. But yeah, but the other stuff, you know. Cool. Any last questions?
To give it a second because there's a little bit of a delay to get to Facebook to ask for more questions, but that was so much fun.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna while we're waiting, I'll start blocking this wig back down. I should probably clean the lace, but we'll do that another time. Can watch me block a wig. It's not the most exciting thing in the world.
I know, now we're getting the behind the scenes of the makeup artist.
Oh yeah. So you use a little bit of twill tape and so that way this is so that the lace, if you have a lace front wig, this is so that the lace can stay flat, which I don't think I did such a good job when I did it last time because it was all wrinkly. But yeah, so you just put the twill tape and you do it over the lace. So the lace lies flat. Oh, it'd be great if I actually put it through the twill tape. Did you get any more questions or?
We've not had more questions come in. Evan Ross says, thank you. Linda couldn't tear herself away from the computer.
Aw, that's good to hear. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. And, I know there's been a lot going on in the world. So, with COVID and with Black Lives Matter. So, Pride isn't what we normally have it be, but, there's still ways to celebrate. There's still ways to honor Pride, and also keep in mind what is going on in the rest of the world and what is happening with other people. So, we're all here to support each other and to be kind to each other. So, so happy Pride to those of you that celebrate Pride. And yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. Bye.